Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Imagine a war where the only casualty was a pig. Sounds absurd, right? Well, today we re-diving into one of the strangest and most fascinating conflicts in history, the Pig War. This isn't just a story about a farm animal. It's a tale of empires, borders, and a standoff that nearly plunged the United States and Great Britain into their third war. It all began in the mid-19th century on a tiny, beautiful island called San Juan, nestled between what is now Washington State and Vancouver Island, Canada. Back then, both the United States and the British Empire claimed this island. Why? It all goes back to a treaty from 1846, the Oregon Treaty, which was supposed to settle the border between American and British territories in the Pacific Northwest. The treaty said the border should run through the middle of the channel which separates the continent from Vancouver Island. The problem was, there are two main channels, the Haro Strait and the Rosario Strait. Depending on which channel you chose, San Juan Island belonged to either the U.S. or Britain. For a while, nobody really cared. A few settlers from both nations lived there, coexisting peacefully. The British Hudson's Bay Company even set up a sheep ranch called Bellevue Farm. But as more American settlers arrived, seeking new lives after the California gold rush, tensions started to simmer. They saw the British company not as neighbors, but as representatives of a foreign power on what they believed was American soil. The British, on the other hand, saw the Americans as squatters. Both sides had their own magistrates, their own laws, and a growing sense of mutual distrust. The island was a geopolitical powder keg, and all it needed was a spark. That spark came on June 15, 1859. An American farmer named Lyman Cutlar woke up to find a large black pig rooting around in his potato patch. It wasn't the first time. This particular pig, owned by an Irishman named Charles Griffin who worked for the Hudson's Bay Company, had a habit of raiding Cutlar's garden. Fed up, Cutlar took his rifle and shot the pig. Now, Cutlar wasn't a bad guy. He immediately went to Griffin to apologize and offered to pay for the pig. He offered $10, a fair price. But Griffin was furious. He demanded an outrageous $100. He reportedly said, "It is up to you to keep your potatoes out of my pig." Cutlar retorted, "It is up to you to keep your pig out of my potatoes." The negotiation broke down completely. Griffin reported the incident to the British authorities, who then threatened to arrest Cutlar. This is where a simple farm dispute spiraled into an international crisis. Fearing arrest by the British, Cutlar and the other American settlers sent a petition to the U.S. military. They asked for protection. The man who received this request was Brigadier General William S. Harney, the commander of the Department of Oregon. Harney was known for being a hot-headed, fiercely anti-British nationalist. Seeing a chance to assert American dominance, he didn't hesitate. Without consulting his superiors in Washington, D.C., Harney ordered a company of 66 American soldiers from the 9th U.S. Infantry to sail to San Juan Island. They were led by a captain who would later become famous in the Civil War, George Pickett. Yes, that George Pickett of Pickett's Charge at Gettysburg. On July 27, 1859, Pickett and his men landed on the island, set up camp near the Hudson's Bay Company farm, and raised the American flag, officially claiming the island for the United States. When the British got wind of this, they were, to put it mildly, not pleased. The governor of British Columbia, James Douglas, was a tough, no-nonsense character. He saw the American military presence as an invasion. He immediately dispatched 3 British warships to the area, carrying over 2,000 men and more than 60 cannons. The British forces, commanded by Captain Geoffrey Hornby, were vastly superior to Pickett's small company. Hornby was ordered to land his Royal Marines and drive the Americans off the island. The situation was incredibly tense. Pickett and his 66 men were dug in, facing a fleet with overwhelming firepower. They built fortifications and prepared for an assault. Pickett famously declared, "We'll make a Bunker Hill of it." He was ready to fight to the last man. Back on the mainland, American settlers were volunteering to reinforce him. Meanwhile, Captain Hornby had his orders, but he was a level-headed officer. He looked at the situation and realized that firing on American troops would undoubtedly start a full-blown war between two of the world's most powerful nations. All over a pig. He decided to hold his fire and await further instructions, a decision that probably saved thousands of lives. News of the escalating crisis finally reached Washington, D.C., and London, and leaders on both sides were horrified. Neither President James Buchanan nor Queen Victoria wanted a war, especially over a remote island. The press in both countries had a field day, mocking the pig war and the absurdity of the situation. President Buchanan quickly sent a seasoned and respected General, Winfield Scott, to negotiate a peaceful resolution. General Scott, a hero of the Mexican-American War, was in his 70s but still commanded immense respect. Upon arriving in October, Scott met with Governor Douglas. They quickly agreed to a de-escalation plan. Both sides would withdraw the bulk of their forces, leaving behind a small, symbolic joint military occupation of the island until the border dispute could be settled through diplomacy. A company of no more than 100 American soldiers would remain in what became known as American Camp, and a similar force of British Royal Marines would stay at English Camp, on the opposite end of the island. And so began one of the most amicable military occupations in history. For the next 12 years, the American and British soldiers lived peacefully on San Juan Island. They became friends, visiting each other's camps for dinners, sharing holidays like Christmas and the 4th of July, and even holding friendly sports competitions. They were under strict orders to get along, and they did so with gusto. The pig was long forgotten, but the two camps remained, a bizarre but peaceful reminder of the standoff. The final resolution didn't come until 1871. With the American Civil War over, the U.S. and Britain were ready to settle their lingering disputes. They signed the Treaty of Washington, which addressed several issues, including the San Juan border. They agreed to let a neutral third party, Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany, arbitrate the decision. The Kaiser appointed a three-man commission, which studied the maps and the original treaty text. In 1872, they announced their verdict. The border should follow the Haro Strait, the Western Channel. This meant San Juan Island officially belonged to the United States. On November 25, 1872, the British Royal Marines peacefully lowered the Union Jack at English Camp and sailed away. The Pig War was officially over, without a single human casualty and a total cost of one dead pig. Today, San Juan Island is a beautiful South National Historical Park where you can visit the preserved sites of both American Camp and English Camp. It stands as a powerful testament to how diplomacy and level-headedness can prevent a minor dispute from erupting into a catastrophic war. It's a reminder that sometimes the most sensible path is to just talk it out, even when national pride is on the line. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this slice of history as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories you might not have learned in school. Let me know in the comments what other weird historical events you'd like me to cover. See you next time.